ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਸਿੱਖ ਚੈਨਲ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਨਿੱਘਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਨਾ ਪਿਆਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹਰ ਹਫਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ਾਮਿਲ ਹੁੰਨੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਆ ਆਈ ਐਮ ਸੋ ਗ੍ਰੇਟਫੁਲ ਟੂ ਯੂ ਆਲ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਦਿਸ ਇਜ਼ ਨਾਓ ਸੀਜ਼ਨ 9 of the Trinjan show ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਮੈਂ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਚਲੋ ਇੱਕ ਸੀਜ਼ਨ 6 ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੇ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ what will happen and then season 2 and 3 and ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਸੀਜ਼ਨ 9 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਤੇ ਰੂਬੀ ਡਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਹਫ਼ਤੇ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਵੇਗਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਰੂਬੀ ਡਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਿਤਾਬਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜੀਵਨ ਬਾਰੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਫ਼ਰ ਬਾਰੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜੀਵਨ ਬਾਰੇ ਐਂਡ all of these things and ਆਪਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਇੱਥੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਆਏ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਲਾਸਟ ਵੀਕ ਇੱਥੇ ਗੱਲ ਛੱਡੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਲੇਟੈਸਟ ਬੁੱਕ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਰਹੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਕਿ ਸੈਲਫ ਲਵ ਸੈਲਫ ਕੇਅਰ ਐਕਸੈਪਟੈਂਸ ਓਨੈਸਟੀ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਰਿਸ਼ਤਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਨੈਵੀਗੇਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਸੈਲਫ ਲਵ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਐਂਡ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਅਗਲੇ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ 'ਚ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ ਰੂਬੀ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲਵਜ਼ ਨੇ ਸੈਲਫ ਕੇਅਰ ਸੈਲਫ ਲਵ ਇੱਕ ਸੈਕਿੰਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣਾ ਫੋਨ ਖੋਲੋ ਚਾਹੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਆ ਇਹੀ ਕੁਛ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲਵਜ਼ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਡਾਇਲੂਟ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਇਹਦਾ ਅਸਲੀ ਮਤਲਬ ਅਸੀਂ ਭੁੱਲ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਆ ਐਂਡ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੋਕ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਲੈ ਸੈਲਫ ਕੇਅਰ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਲੈ ਸੈਲਫ ਲਵ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਮੇਬੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਉਮਰ ਦੇ some people might say ਕਿ ਲੈ ਸਾਡੇ ਟਾਈਮ ਤੇ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ what are your thoughts on that
yeah so that's one of the main reasons why I wrote the book because ਅੱਜ-ਕੱਲ ਦੇ ਜ਼ਮਾਨੇ 'ਚ like we've gone from the generation of my parents jithe self love varge koi cheez hi nahi si there's no thing as such
and
thing as self love
and they didn't have the time for it as well
they didn't have the time for it but even in the western world the people who didn't come from the kind of backgrounds that our parents came from
yes
ਉਹਨਾਂ 'ਚ ਵੀ self love kuch like zyada important nahi hunda si
ਦੂਸਰਿਆਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ
and then it went from obligation and duty to others to self love to now millennials and jo Gen Z hai self love de bare bahut zyada galan karde hain they talk about it so my situation was that how many times have we opened up TikTok or Instagram and seen someone engage in self-care someone say okay aaj main apna khayal rakhna I'm going to practice self-love first I'm going to have a 5 a.m. Yoga session then I'm going to go for a run then I'm going to have a matcha tea latte in my favorite cafe followed by sitting at the beach and so we've started to think that self-love means doing these things
activities
self-love means buying yourself a coffee buying yourself clothes watching Netflix having a bubble bath and while self-care does mean that self-care is you taking care of yourself in that external way self-love is a lot deeper and my purpose was a lot of people are saying self-love overrated hai and is cheeza de naal thodi tusi like you can't live your life and be happy like this you're going to just focus on yourself and are relationships are loved ones you're just going to forget about them you can't right tusi khud da hi sochde ho logon de bare nahi sochde and so my purpose was to explain that self-love isn't just about me firstly so there's a whole chapter in my book on relationships last week we had a conversation actually where you said we were talking about our partners and tusi bolya ke the sorry partner like they had a chat with you my partner had a chat with me my husband and your husband and that's when we realized that there's certain things we need to work on and there's a chapter in the book in the path to self-love about relationships and how relationships can help you and how the right partner can help you when you are practicing self-love and having a good partner can really encourage you ke mainu apne childhood trauma all these problems that I have these insecurities I want to move on from it and so relationships are very important for self-love but the most important thing for self-love is knowing that it's not just a me mindset it's not just the stuff that we see on TikTok and Instagram it's a lot deeper than that and time mein book likhi because I want to show people because self-love is not overrated it's very important and very integral in us living a happy life, having good relationships, being successful, you know, going on adventures, having lovely experiences. But it's only impactful if we practice it in the right way. And the right way is the way that well, to me, it's the right way.
I think if you want to know the right way, you have to buy the book.
The book, yeah.
ਪਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਯਾਦ ਕਰਾਈ ਸਾਡੇ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਉਹ ਵਰਡਪ੍ਰੈਸ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਬਲੌਗ ਲਿਖਣਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਐਂਡ ਯੂ ਸੈਡ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਆਉਣੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਸੀ from other people ਕਿ Ruby your words have helped us ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਮੈਂ ਕੁਝ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਕਰ ਲੈਣਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਪਰ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਇਹ ਬਲੌਗ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਹਿੰਮਤ ਮਿਲੀ ਹੈ ਐਂਡ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੁਣੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸੈਲਫ ਲਵ ਮੈਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਰਿਸ਼ਤਿਆਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਸਿਰਫ ਆਪਣੇ ਲਈ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਬਾਕੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਲਈ ਵੀ ਲਿਖ ਰਹੀ ਹਾਂ so this is essentially what you're saying ਕਿ self love starts with the self ਇਹ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ but ਇਹ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਤੇ whoever I come across in my life ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ impact ਹੁੰਦਾ
Yeah, I think ਸਾਨੂੰ ਫਰਕ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਹੈ between self love as an emotion and self love as an action.
ਹਾਂਜੀ
So ਜਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ self love ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੀ ਹਾਂ I see as an action, as an intention.
So not as a just but not एक
feeling. Yeah, it's a feeling नहीं है
कि एक कर्म करना पैंदा
कर्म है. It's like अगर ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ self love is just an emotion, that means that you don't love yourself every day because we don't feel that emotion of self love every day. When you see self love as an action, you can continue practicing self love. You can continue practicing it even when you feel low. Because when you go to therapy, you don't feel good. You don't feel happy. You don't love yourself. But that's an act of self-love. You're doing something for yourself.
To make yourself better.
When you join an AA class, you don't feel happy. You don't feel good about yourself. You don't feel like I am great, I'm worthy, I'm wonderful. But you're acting in a way to improve your life. So self-love is not... There are moments where we feel joyful and content in ourselves. That's a part of the self-love experience. That's a part of the path to self-love. It's a part of the self-love journey. But self-love is not an emotion. So when you distinguish self-love from not being an emotion, what do you start seeing?
As an action.
As an action. You
as
start
things I need to do.
As a way I need to live. If I continue to do these tough and easy practices, if I continue to do the hard stuff, work on my trauma, heal from that trauma, then I can continue to enjoy the easy stuff. Then I can go and meet my friends for a coffee and truly enjoy myself and have a good time. And then you're making
and
the
be
most.
present.
And be present.
Not be worrying about what else is going on in the pit in my stomach. I know कि हर एक इंसान काबिल है self love दे self care दे, but do you think हर एक इंसान उथे पहुंच जाता है at that point of self love and self care?
Not without self acceptance and reflection. Jab tak, like, okay, so it sounds a bit contradictory, but until you don't accept कि मैं flawed and I need to work on myself, you can't experience self love. Like you can't practice self love.
But self love isn't a denial of your flaws or things that might not be as you would like them to be. It's part of self love is an acceptance of all of that and saying I still love me.
Yeah, but then it's also the way that we see it, that is the problem. If we keep saying that self-love is a I love me, I love me, I love me mindset,
then we're not going to change.
Then we're not going to change. So it's not just about I love me, because look, like that emotion, look, love can exist without feeling it all the time. Let me explain. I love my brother. I love my dad. Do I love them every day? On a day when I'm having a fight with them, when I'm arguing with them, when I'm unhappy with them? No. I love my partner. That thing is there. My husband, I love him. On a bad day, when we have an argument,
so the emotion love is present all the time.
It's just,
however, the act of love may or may not be. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm saying that the feeling of love may not be there every day, but the act of love is always there. That relationship is there with yourself. So that self-love relationship is there. So self-love as an intention to improve your life is always there, but you may not feel I love me every day. You may not feel that every day, especially on a difficult day, especially on a day when you're, having a bad day, especially when it's a matter of, simply put, when you practice self-care, okay, you've had a tough day at work, you're like, okay, I'm going to see my friend after work, you instantly feel better. You're like, yeah, I'm going to go see my friend, I'm going to feel better. That's self-care. When you're practicing deep, tough self-love, after work, you've got a therapy session. You're not looking forward to it. You're like, oh my God, after a long day at work, now I need to go for therapy. It's fine. You don't feel the emotion. You're still practicing self-love. So the thing about everyone practicing self-love, when you say that, can everyone walk on this path, on this journey? It requires you to distinguish between the feeling of self-love. So it requires you to say, I may not, from the beginning, be like, I love me, I love me, I love me, but I still have that intention to improve my life. Because where do most of us start? We start from self-doubt. We start from low self-esteem. We start from, being in that difficult place. So in that point in time, you can't say that that person is going to practice self-love, but when they start to do the tough and difficult work, they can reach a softer place. So I think it's possible for everyone to.
Yes, I agree. But do you think some people are just comfortable with the way things are? This narrative, this story that people, ਆਪਾਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ episode 'ਚ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ, like victim mode.
Yeah.
Okay, some people just start to identify with that story or about themselves.
Yeah.
This is me, this is my life, I've had a tough life, and there, that you can put two people in the same situation and one will make something out of it and one might not. So I know that everybody has the possibility to walk on it, but do you think that the journey is for everybody?
I think it's only for those who can reflect and who want to make a change. So if you live in that victim mindset, you have already trapped yourself in the mindset that you find yourself in, right? So you're already trapped in that story that you tell yourself. I've gone through this, I'm going to continue to go through this. You can never get out of that. So only those people who know how to break out of that, break out of the shackles that they find themselves in. It's about truly being reflective. It's about, like, if you're not a reflective person, if you're someone who just lives on the cycle of 9 to 5, work, home, sleep, okay, repeat, that's it, like that's all my life is, and there's nowhere emotionally that I need to be, there's nowhere that I want to be in my relationships, I just want to live life as it is.
Just going through the motions.
Just going through the motions, then you're never going to be able to truly heal and truly practice self-love.
So, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰਿਸ਼ਤਾ ਹੈ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਜਦੋਂ whenever you meet somebody new, ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਵੇਂ ਇਨਸਾਨ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, we get to know them. How do we get to know them? We sit with them, we ask questions, right?
Yeah.
So ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਰਿਫਲੈਕਟਿਵ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, this is ਕਿ ਆਪਣੇ ਖੁਦ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੈਠਣਾ, ਖੁਦ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ, ਇਨਫੈਕਟ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਗਹਿਰੀ ਲੈਵਲ ਤੇ ਜਾਣਨਾ ਕਿ what I am, why do I do the things I do?
Yes.
Why is my life the way it is?
Yeah.
What do I wish to change in it? What do I want to see different?
Absolutely, and that's literally what I go into in the book. It's not about either accepting your situation or denying it. It's about sitting with yourself and asking yourself, what is going on with me? Why am I continually in this cycle of bad relationships, bad friendships,
the triggers?
Why do we get triggered easily? Why am I, have I acted toxic in a way? Why am I with toxic people? Why do I surround myself with toxic people?
I noticed you talked about boundaries as well. Because boundaries are not for other people, they're for us, right?
Absolutely.
Because, I talk about boundaries as well, and I think people sometimes think that you're putting a boundary in for the other person. But it's not. The boundary is for me. The other person is, of course, they're going to try and break it, but you put it in for you. And if somebody breaks it, you don't set a new boundary, because then there was no point of the boundary in the first place, right? But so the other question that I had for you is, so the self-reflective practice you've said is really important, ਕਿ ਖੁਦ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੈਠਣਾ, ਖੁਦ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਣਾ, ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ ਦੇ ਦੌਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, especially we live in a social age of social media, ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ distractions ਹੋ ਗਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਖੁਦ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੈਠਦੇ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ.
It's true.
So how, because you talked about breaking the cycles, if you had one tip to stop distracting ourselves and sitting with ourselves, what would that be?
If I had one tip, I would just say, and that's something I say in the book as well, I actually have a chapter on social media because I knew that's going to come up.
It's so important.
It's so important.
We can't escape it.
Practicing self-love in today's day and age is not easy at all, especially if you're on a difficult healing journey, especially if you have low self-esteem. Social media can be your worst enemy. But the way that I see it is, I literally just recommend staying away from your phone for a bit. So say that you want to
Setting that boundary.
Setting that boundary. So say you're someone who, to practice self-care, goes on walks. Don't listen to a podcast. Don't listen to a podcast. Don't listen to
Leave
music.
your phone at home.
Leave your phone at home. Go on that walk. Then see what you think. Then see what kind of thoughts come in your head. If you're someone who practices self-care, because that's where it comes from, right? When we think of self-love, we instantly go straight to self-care, which is fine. Slowly start with self-care. Start with self-care, then start the difficult stuff. Then you'll truly be able to make use and enjoy that self-care, right? So do your self-care. If you're someone who practices self-care and goes to the gym, don't listen to music. Don't,
Do the task that
do the
you're
task.
doing.
Let your mind talk. If you're someone who practices self-care by seeing your friend, that's it. That is your escape. That is the moment at which you can sit down and be honest and vulnerable. And if that's your safe person, if that's your safe space, that's your ticket to finally sitting down and reflecting. So we have all these options, we have all these ways to do it, but we just let ourselves be distracted. Yeah, we let ourselves be distracted.
So how do you think, so we talked about, different types of personalities that, of course, it's possible for everyone, but there are going to be those people that unless you sit with yourself, and do you think some people are just happy being the way they are and they're never going to reach this level?
Yeah, I think ignorance is bliss for a lot of people. And if that's something that, if you are okay with living life at surface level and you think it's getting you by, then that's fine. But the people who know they need to practice self-love are the people who just deep down have this calling that I need to work on myself.
No, I agree with you.
This calling doesn't come to everyone. Like a lot of people are just okay.
But some people, and I have come across people like that will say, I wish I won, but then you can actually see that what they wish for, they're not use. It's like if I say to you ke ਉੱਥੇ ਪਾਣੀ ਪਿਆ glass ਚੁੱਕ ਕੇ ਪੀ ਲੋ ਪਾਣੀ, but this like ਯਾਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬੜੀ ਪਿਆਸ ਲੱਗੀ ਆ, ਕਾਸ਼ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲੇ ਪਾਣੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ, but the glass is just there. So they just won't take those steps to do it, and it's because they like that. But does that frustrate you ever?
No, because at the end of it, it's their life. So when I wrote this book, I wrote it with the intention that it's going to find at least one person whose life it's going to change. My duty is not to change everyone's life. My purpose is to use my experiences and share my story with the world and give the tips and tools available, make them available to everyone. Whoever wants to find that book, whoever wants to work on themselves, the title is there, The Path to Self-Love. If someone wants to practice self-love, the answer's there. If they don't want to practice self-love, it's like saying, does it really frustrate you, people who aren't appreciative of what they have? No, because it doesn't impact what I have. If they're not appreciative, or if they don't want to work on themselves, unless they're in my social circle, unless they're in my safe space, unless they are the kind of person who's going to impact me, other than that, if it's someone who's living their life, if it's doing no harm to others, if it's doing no harm to the people around them, they're free to live how they want. But if you have this calling, if you have this inkling that I want to change my life, I am in a dark place, I am in a difficult place, I'm in an okay place, but there's this lingering anxiety always that things just aren't right. Pick up the book, read the book, and see if it helps you.
Where can we pick the book up from?
It is available everywhere. It is available on Amazon, Waterstones, Foils, every bookstore. You can go into a bookstore and collect it and get it from there, which is literally my biggest dream come true. But you can also get it online everywhere. It's available worldwide, and yeah, it's my most precious and most vulnerable and deepest work I have done. Yeah.
So we moved on from reading stories in the dark with this little torch to this absolute bestseller, which is available worldwide. And in India, I think I saw on your post yesterday.
Yeah, it's coming out, and India's going crazy at the moment. Like all these book bloggers are like posting it. It's crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, this is so overwhelming.
It's crazy.
So ਇਹ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਸਿਰਫ England ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ, India ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ, when is it becoming available?
I think it's available now. It's officially available.
I'm so excited.
Yay. I'm so excited as
I saw your post yesterday and I was like, oh my God, India. India is close to my heart. Punjab is close to my heart. So anytime I see that, it's amazing. So we have moved on from the first book, poetry, to this. And that Ruby, that 10-year-old Ruby that wanted to become a novelist, where does she fit into all of this?
Well, she's finally going to go back to herself now, I guess. I've been writing non-fiction. I've been writing poetry and prose for so long now, and I finally want to make the 10-year-old Ruby's dreams come true. So I'm working on my first ever novel, my first ever romance novel.
Wow.
Which I guess I'm definitely going to come back to the self-help. I'm definitely going to come back to the non-fiction. But the thing is, this book has so much in it that I feel like if there's ever another book that's non-fiction that I want to write again, it has to be on a topic that, you know, it's going to be just as pressing and just as amazing as this, because I've put so many answers into this book that I'm like, what could I
add?
What could I add? And so I definitely want to go into novel writing, and inspired by this book and the topic of self-love, I'm fulfilling another dream, which is I'm doing my first ever TED Talk.
I was going to ask you, what are the next steps for Ruby Dowell now that you've done this? What are next steps?
I'm doing a TED Talk in October.
So where can we see the TED Talk? When does it come out? Or is there going to be a live audience?
So it's a live audience. It's happening here in the UK.
Wow.
It's going to be in Middlesbrough, and it's taking place on the 16th of October. And whoever wants to come is welcome to.
Ruby, before we wrap up this absolutely amazing season, which, like I said, where I came to see you at your book launch however many years ago, and I was in awe of you then, and I've been waiting for this moment. When do I get to sit down with Ruby Dowell and get to know the real Ruby, not just what I see in the books? And you've invited us into your home. For me, this has been an absolutely amazing experience. It's indescribable. I'm lost for words. And where can people, so you've said it's in Middlesbrough, no doubt you'll be sharing it on your socials. So if you are not already, where have you been? Go follow Ruby, get this book. And any final words, Ruby, from you, because I'm absolutely lost for them.
Oh, thank you so much. I just want everyone to live their best lives. I want them to manifest love and happiness, and know that you can practice self-love in a way that's healing, in a way that helps you, and in a way that allows you to enjoy your relationships and the people around you. Because especially in our community, like, we are a close-knit community where our parents, our relationships are so important. So self-love doesn't mean that you give anything up. It means that you thrive. So I hope
that's
you thrive.
So beautiful. You encapsulate, and I think we've done a full circle from where the words you just used was, I want everybody to live their best life, and that is far from being self-absorbed. So somebody who practices self-love, ਸਾਡੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, again, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਭੁੱਲ ਚੁੱਕ ਮਾਫ ਕਰਨਾ, we say ਨਾਨਕ ਨਾਮ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਤੇਰੇ ਭਾਣੇ ਸਰਬੱਤ ਦਾ ਭਲਾ. So Naam is Chardhi Kala, because you talked about your relationship with Guru as well. And when we get into that rising spirit through Naam, through Gurbani, Nanak Naam Chardhi Kala, Tere Pane means acceptance. We get to a place of acceptance, self-acceptance even. And through that acceptance, Sarbat da Pala hunda. And I feel like we've done a full circle, and we've just done that where yes, it's self-love. Yes, it's about the self, but it's also about empowering everyone around you. And when you love yourself, it just filters out into everything. And you are a true example of that, because just sitting here in your presence, you know, I feel the love.
Thank you. I feel the same. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for inviting us into your beautiful home and into your life and your journey. I wish you all the best. I can't wait. I've got my copy. You go and get yours. And go follow Ruby. ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਦੇਖਣ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ. It's been an amazing season. Honestly, it's been one of my favorites. ਫਿਰ ਮਿਲਾਂਗੇ next week, same time, same place. ਹਰ ਸੋਮਵਾਰ ਸ਼ਾਮੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਚੈਨਲ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ 6:30 ਵਜੇ ਤ੍ਰਿੰਜਨ ਸ਼ੋ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਨਾ ਭੁੱਲਣਾ. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ.